Thank you to our sponsor, MBA Growth Partners.
Welcome to Studio 501c3. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Kim Jones. We're featuring nonprofit organizations that have a 501c3 designation from the IRS because they are charities that provide a public benefit. In most cases, your donations to these organizations can be tax deductible. My guest today is Dave Feldman. He's serving as the interim executive director of Bethesda Green. Dave, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kim. It's good to be here.
Great, and welcome back to Bethesda Green. I think you've got some history with them.
I have, yeah. It's I started the organization with a number of other folks back in 2007, and did that until 2014, and left to do some other things. Then, sadly, our current executive director suddenly passed away at the end of last year, and the board called me back. So it's exciting, but not necessarily under those conditions to be back again with an organization I'm quite fond of.
Quite fond and make impact with.
Yeah,
So,
it's a wonderful.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. So Bethesda Green is working to address some local environmental challenges. Tell us about that. Tell us more about the mission and what the organization is actually doing out in the community.
Right. Well, thank you, Kim. So Bethesda Green was formed with the mission to really help create a greener Montgomery County, Bethesda, Maryland, and be a model for other communities to come together and take all of those things that you see around the environment, but localize them. So if I can distill it down to three words, it's we educate, we incubate, and we initiate activity. So the educate, there's so much to learn around all the different areas of sustainability. You know, there's food, there's green building, there's sustainable materials, there's recycling, there's watersheds. All of that has a lot, involved with each of these areas. So we help people understand all the different activities that take place in these different areas.
And you're doing that education in a lot of different ways. Under that pillar, it's not just here's a workshop, but you're doing that in a lot of different ways as well, right?
That is correct. I mean, in this world today, we need to be able to provide information the way people receive that information. So whether it's social media, whether it's in person, which strangely enough has been quite a challenge given the pandemic for the last few years, an education center, those are all different ways that people get information from us. And a lot of that is still about connection. A lot of the education is face-to-face people coming together.
Right. The citizen engagement is really important. The other two pillars you said are incubate,
which we work with a lot of small businesses. We have a center in downtown Bethesda. It's the second floor of a Capital One bank branch. And we have converted into a place where people come together to work on these issues. And a lot of what we do there is incubate the next generation of green business solutions by providing mentoring services, providing a space where they come together, providing mailboxes, internet access, networking, and things that businesses need to thrive on. So we are helping build those organizations by providing them what any small business would need to take it to the next step. And then the initiate is really about activating. It's about getting these programs up and out into the community. So we've had expos and summits where people come together to launch solar in the residence. We have a number of programs where we work with youth. We have an environmental leader program where we have young interns who are out there taking projects into the community with schools. Sometimes they even get credit for it. Other times we have programs that are about putting in pollinator gardens, stormwater management gardens. So a whole range of different activities. And a lot of times it's just somebody who has an idea. They come to us. We bring together partners and resources, and we help them launch those types of activities. Sometimes they even get grant funded. So they're really about helping get those projects up in a meaningful way.
And so Dave, as you're talking, obviously I see kind of the intersection of your three pillars. You're educating those that you incubate, you're working on the incubation as well as the initiation. On the incubation, though, I wanted to go back and ask, are those all for-profit businesses? Are they social enterprises, nonprofits? Are they just individuals that want to be a sole practitioner and they want to do something, in the green industry? Who are those people that you're incubating?
Yeah. So Kim, to your first point, that you were exactly right. There is an intersection of all three of those pillars. And part of it is because that's how communities operate.
Mhm.
Communities really are ecosystems of a lot of different people, a lot of different organizations who come together. And we see ourselves at the intersection of that with the sustainability, environmental issues as a thread.
Mhm.
The question that you asked is really, really good about the incubator businesses is who do we incubate? A lot of them are small local businesses.
Mhm.
Traditionally, incubators are for profit. We have in the past and may yet again incubate nonprofits because they also create jobs and they create meaningful programs where people can actually make a difference. So it really is open for that. In the past, we've actually done a lot of local.
Mhm.
But during the pandemic, when everything moved online, all of a sudden we started finding ourselves working with a lot of companies that were not local, but they were part of our ecosystem. And it allowed us to start to revisit what is our model, who do we serve, what's our goals, and start looking outside of just this particular area.
Okay, so we're going to take a break in just a minute, but we've got about 30 seconds. You've been in for 15 years now. Are residents in the community, businesses showing a willingness and an excitement about transitioning to being environmentally friendly? Has that started to really pick up, or we only got 30 seconds? So
Question. So the answer
we
is
can pick it up
yes.
after the break again.
Yes and no. I think sustainability, like organic food or electric vehicles, are all starting to become more mainstream, and sometimes people want to know how to get there. There's still much to do, though, and I think there's a world that we can create. So it's not there to a point where it's set and done. So it's moving along nicely, but it still has room to grow.
Oh, and you haven't worked yourself out of business yet.
That is correct.
Okay, we're going to take a short break, and then when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about that, as well as some of the other challenges and opportunities. We'll be right back on Studio 501c3.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars.
Really tall.
I'm a rocket structural engineer designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands?
Yes.
You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
Can I get the now bar, please?
$1.
Have a good one.
Got it.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey.
Let me get a now bar.
Sure.
$1.
Appreciate you.
Got it.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. This is a serious problem, but one we can solve. Visit feedingamerica.org to help. Together we can solve hunger. Together we're feeding America.
Welcome back to Studio 501c3. I'm talking with Dave Feldman. He's the interim executive director of Bethesda Green. So Dave, other challenges that you might be facing in trying to make sure that you are continuing to make the impact that you want to make. You have success stories, but what are some of the other challenges in terms of green living and green business and green operating?
Yeah. So Kim, thank you for that thoughtful question. First question is, I know you've interviewed many different nonprofits. We have some of the same challenges that any nonprofit has. It's the funding, it's growing your capacity to do all the good work that you see in front of you. And it's just managing limited resources. So that kind of goes without saying as a challenge. As far as a green organization, my wife laughs at me all the time. She calls me Kermit, and she goes, "It's not easy being green." And there's some truth to that being green although it makes sense sometimes, it makes logical sense. Nothing is black and white, it's green. And sometimes it's challenging that, for example, you may be looking at a carpet that might have some sustainability principles to it, is made out of recycled material, and it doesn't last as long, or it may not be as colorful. So, there's always a range of things that we have to look at when in being green. One of the things I actually ask people to do is that even if you don't make the greenest choice, at least you're asking the right questions. Because sometimes when you're trying to become more sustainable, it depends on where you are. There might be, for example, if there's organic food and you have a choice of organic food, but you have to ship it all the way from California, it's not local. Is it better to do local versus organic? And my answer might be, it depends. And there are answers to that, but sometimes it's not always easy, clear. So, I think there's a lot of knowledge out there. There's a lot of organizations that are providing education and trying to move entire supply chains towards sustainability. It's still a growing area of interest. And, one point that I think is really interesting, I've got a couple of young nephews and nieces who are in college right now, and they are environmental science majors. And there are quite a few people who are doing that. When I was growing up in school, they didn't have those.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you are starting to see now that this next generation, and there is an awareness of these kinds of activities. So there are some shifts in in trends right now that are leading us down that path, maybe just not as quickly as some of us think it could be.
Right. So I want to thank you for your point about the carpet, because not long ago I was in another job and moving into a new office and getting state funding for that. The question was, is your carpet, is the life cycle at a minimum of 15 years, preferably 30 years? Well, we wanted to do something a little more environmentally friendly. And like you said, it may not last as long. So your point about educating government sometimes
Exactly
is a challenge.
Yeah.
We've only got a couple minutes left, but tell me a little bit more about what's next for the organization. What more is it that you're looking to do, or what's the next big thing that you'd like to see launched?
Yeah, thank you. So our work fits into two different categories. We call it Be Green, which is like Bethesda Green, Be Green Living and Be Green Business. So on the business side, we will continue to have the incubator and accelerators, which are programs to help take businesses that are already doing green programs and products and services and accelerate them, give them training and support. So we will continue to support different green entities through those business programs. On the Be Green Living side, we will continue to work with students, local watersheds, food groups. We have so many different kinds of programs, working with Chesapeake Bay Trust on some of them. We've actually, from the county, we are now actually doing the the Be Green certification. So we're actually working with small businesses and giving them the tools, tips to become more sustainable. So these are all programs that fall under our program. We work with One Montgomery Green, so we're very collaborative with other green and groups in the area.
Dave, I'm going to have to stop you there because
that's it. Yeah.
The time, but there's so much more to learn. And we're going to put up your website, but I want to thank you for providing this service and for joining us today.
And thank you for all that you do to elevate the work that we do, Kim. I appreciate your service as well.
Great. To learn more about Bethesda Green, visit their website at bethesdagreen.org. Thanks to Montgomery Community Media for letting me bring you this valuable information. I'm Kim Jones. See you next time on Studio 501c3.